Ladies and gentlemen, we're live with the Crestone Energy Fair volunteer team. They're all millionaires in my eyes, but most of them live in mud huts. No, now actually we're coming to you live from Nick's upstairs palatial pad in downtown Crestone, where he has large tropical plants, which are helping cleanse the inner oxygen there for the large group of people he has sitting on that couch. And welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diamond.
So we got 32 days till the Crestone Energy Fair. Am I right?
That's correct. Yep. Yesterday
and the countdown has begun. Now, unfortunately, the straw bale continuing education class was canceled, but Lydia, could you have an update?
Yeah, we are going to go ahead with the second part of that workshop, which is the natural plasters workshop, August 6th and 7th. So, yeah, that's still on, and we're working on our September, October schedule as well.
Natural plaster sounds awesome. Is this like using indigenous clay from your build site, or what's it all about?
There are several plasters that they're going to go over, and it definitely includes using local things.
Local stuff. Okay, yeah. Cool. And who's the new guy that's next to you, and why is he here?
Well, this is our buddy Eric, who's coming in on the Energy Fair as one of our sponsors. He is the creator and the author of the YouTube page, The Off-Grid Guru, and he is sponsoring our natural build panel this year. And so he's curating our content for that area. And then he's also going to be covering and sharing some of the fun that we're going to be doing at the Energy Fair and sharing that on his channel as well.
Cool. So, now, Eric, you have a YouTube channel, so we can go check out content right now. To see if maybe it's some of the content we want to come to the Energy Fair to go look at. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've got a video that just posted on the hempcrete demo from last year. Really awesome. The guys at Rocky Mountain Hemp Build are super informative and fun, and they know what they're talking about. And so that's a really nice 20-minute video that gives you an idea of what some of the building demos are going to be like this year. This year we also have Aircrete, which is going to be demoed live on site. People are going to be able to see the process of making the bricks, and also, I don't know, we're going to probably carve some up and make some cool stuff too.
Yeah. Now, Saguache County is a unique place in Crestone where you really don't have building codes or managers coming out to heckle you. Now, you come from a more traditional building background, meaning that you down at the Earthship region down in Taos, they had to follow some rules. And Rocky Mountain Hempcrete definitely has to follow rules because they're just not making hempcrete buildings in Saguache County. So, Eric, you have the background of dealing with these codes and these building people, or not, or do you?
I am currently in the midst of dealing with them. It seems like that's the perpetual struggle of the aspiring natural builder, is just to be constantly dealing with codes and regulations. So that's why the builders panel is so important, is to educate people on what the realities of building housing like this, are right now at this juncture in time, where the cost of materials are so high and the availability of affordable housing is just honestly decreasing. So this education is becoming more valuable.
And honestly, like with the hemp build, because of their presentation, I decided to use hempcrete for my addition on my house.
Boom.
And as a result, I'm actually saving a third of the cost of lumber, because the hempcrete is actually structural.
Nice.
Dries, it's harder than concrete. It's fireproof, it's rodent proof, it's insect proof, and it's mold proof. It's an amazing product.
When you use the hempcrete, there's no stick build to begin with. It's like blocks, and we building like Legos.
Depending on what you use, so it could be stick build with hempcrete infill with forms, or with what you're doing.
No, that is what I'm doing.
Okay.
But because we're able to use the hemp as a structural element, we don't have to use as much lumber for the frame.
Yeah, well, you save all the sheathing probably. You don't need any of the sheathing.
Exactly. It's amazing. Yeah. And so, now because I'm using the local lumber mill, my total lumber bill is around $1,200, where if I got it from a lumber yard that already gets it pre-made and brings it to them, and they are easier to access, I would be paying $6,000 or $8,000 for the same lumber.
Well, yeah, we know lumber is going through the roof, and it's in my opinion, the powers that be don't want us to build anything. They're done with us expanding on planet Earth, and now is the contractionary period where we've got to cut back and live in dirt huts. But this is funny because this is what we want to do.
Totally.
All right, Nick and Lisa Bodie, what do you have to add to the conversation?
Well, to continue on that with the county, as you know, we don't have the building codes in Saguache, but as an offshoot of the Energy Fair over the winter, we had a mindful land use solutions group because they were trying to increase square footage. Say there was another code where they weren't going to allow you to have a garage storage container shed on your property until your property was built. So we've been able to reverse some of those codes, working with Planning Commission in the county. And so the next phase of that.
Wait a minute. This brilliant county didn't allow you to have a shed on your property when you were building.
They were going to change it, and you were going to have to finish your home before you could put a shed or a garage. And we really fought them that you need to store materials, protect them from theft, the weather. And your homeowner builder isn't the person who's going to be sitting in their nice home here, having a general contractor build their home for them and move everything in one fell swoop. Many of us living in this valley, we want to do it ourselves and build. So we prevented that code from going through. And then the 900 square foot minimum that they were proposing, we ended up over a 7-month period working with the county commissioners, planning commissioners, and they're keeping it at our state's 150 square foot minimum. So as an offshoot, we've been jumping into our local politics and codes and trying to understand that we're all on the same team. If you start looking at housing, we need diverse housing and a diverse economic base for all of us to be able to live in a healthy way here together.
Well, and I'm sure when you take an organized group of Crestonians that are volunteers down to the whatever they're doing in Saguache County, to the county courthouse or wherever they're having these meetings, you make a big impact because you have more people than they've ever had in the building or something like that. Because we can do the same thing here in Archuleta County. If you just gather 20, 30 people together to show up for a thing, they don't even know what to do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So it was a total takeover. So, and you win because you live there. Isn't that basically how it works?
It's helping me get my next lot in an unfinished cabin that's only 288 square feet.
Congratulations to
Yay.
Lisa. She's now a property owner.
Yeah.
Now, you guys listening, I want to just shout this out. It has nothing to do with the Energy Fair, but it has everything to do with Saguache County. This year, they auctioned off a bunch of land, thousands of lots, for $600 to $1,200 an acre. Are they continuing to do that every year? Because I'm sure they didn't sell them all.
They are. And it's actually an ongoing auction.
Okay.
So the ones that have not sold, you can actually call the county and ask for that list. And they will provide it for you. And you just send them money in and they'll send you a deed back.
Yeah.
But also the thing to be aware of with those type of properties, those are what are called county-owned properties. And so those are acquired through tax sale. So a person who receives those properties doesn't necessarily own it free and clear. There's a cloud on that title that has to be expunged or the previous owner dealt with. So just be aware of that. If anyone has any questions, feel free to call me or Nick at MountainsideRealty.com.
No, a lot of these have tax burdens from not unpaid property tax.
That's correct. Yeah. You know, a lot of people come here with a great intention and then they die and they don't tell their family that they owned this random piece of property in Colorado because they lived in the Northeast or wherever. And, because they're always their dream to come to Colorado. And then it just sort of lapses in taxes, and after 5 years of lapsed taxes, the county takes it over.
Yeah. Well, so there's opportunity waiting in some places. Most people are priced out of vacant land across America. The prices have tripled in many areas. And we're talking about an area with no building code. So this is literally like the cherry on top. You don't need a tree. You don't need a bush on your land. You can plant all that later. If it's that cheap and there's water and there's no building codes, you have a dream.
It's totally true. And, unlike a lot of other places in Colorado, this valley has high water. You can dig a well and hit water at even 30 feet, 20 feet, good water that's, sustainable. You probably want to go down 50 to 100 feet, but at the same time, it's relatively shallow, and so you also do have to get electrical and plumbing permits through the state, but still in the grand scheme of things, those are relatively little requirements as opposed to other places around the state and country. So
yeah, and just for drilling a well infrastructure, each 100-foot deeper is another 10 grand. So instead of a 350-foot well that's going to be $40,000, you could dig an 80-foot well for the minimum price. Most of these lined wells are going to be 10 to 15 grand unless you know someone. But that's going to be the lowest end and you're going to have flowing water on your property.
Yeah, just talked to someone the other day, and his well was 7,000.
Okay, so then that is damn cheap. So how deep is that? Like 35 feet, 40 feet? Oh, so that's you got some good well diggers out there.
Yeah.
And now they also make some material. They make some devices where you can dig your own well. They have devices that can go down 80, 100 feet now, but you need the right soil. I don't know you couldn't do it out here because you hit giant cobbles. And so I don't know what the soil is there. How's the soil out there?
Yeah, because down here you have sand.
This would be a great conversation for our brand new panel that's happening at the Energy Fair this year. That's called the Water and Sanitation panel that we're going to be hosting at the event. We're going to be having all these conversations there on Sunday. We're having some local experts coming in. Lisa can maybe drop some names on that, but we're having some local experts coming in to talk about the water and sanitation situation here in Crestone that is ever evolving, and we are working to maintain a open dialogue about the different kinds of ways that we can maintain our water in the valley.
Yeah. Well, we just got off the phone with Nick Chambers. So he's got Living Arts Systems, and one of the most interesting system with the biomethane digester. So your household waste, your kitchen compost, that's going into the digester, which then produces that methane gas, which can, power your power stoves. You have to have a specific stove for that or conversion, but that can be lighting, heating for your home. So Nick's going to join us on that panel. Sean King's a cob builder, a natural plaster guy. He's going to be our moderator. And
now, are there any functioning methane biodigesters in this zone? Because they would have to be well insulated underground or under the actual house.
He has 3 with 2 more test sites. He has 3. One's at Lorient Land Trust at Valley View.
Yeah.
And so that's more of a commercial system. We have one in the private residence in the Baca, and then Nick's at his home, at his farm. With 2 more test sites, he can get NSF certified by the state. So that's our goal where we're moving forward and really opening that discussion.
Well, I'd really like to, I'm interested in what he has to say, because I've spoken with these biodigester manufacturers around the world and told them where I am and the climate. And they said, absolutely not. It will not work there. It'll work there 4 or 5 months and then it'll freeze and shut down.
You should talk to him.
My neighbors seems to be working just great.
Yeah.
And it's outside, away from the structure, or is it in a building or underground?
I think he has it underground at his house, and it's away from the building. It's underground, away from the building.
Okay, because that might work here. So so that's good news. I'm really stoked about that. What else do we know about some of the headliners, or who's speaking, and what else are we going to learn?
Thanks, guys.
That's why we got her here.
That's why we're here.
So our panels this year are, we normally have panels at the Energy Fair, but they're kind of shifting and changing this year. So that's been a big part of our focus. And so having sponsorship for our panels and the Natural Build panel, Eric's Natural Build panel, he's bringing in all new people to talk about natural building, except for Rocky Mountain Hemp Build. They've been one other year. The Water and Sanitation panel, as I mentioned, is brand new. We've never had that before, being moderated by Sean King. We are having a wellness panel, which is not something that we've attempted before, but Dr. Kim of Wildwood Herbs is going to be our moderator for that, and talking about wellness from all different kinds of standpoints: mental health, physical well-being and maintenance, and kind of everything from like self to family wellness. And then we also have the local foods panel. So in the past,
before we get to local foods, let's continue with wellness, because Chase just emailed me from Hemp Lucid, and he said that he got in contact with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
What was that about?
Oh, he wants to sponsor or do the vending, presenting in. So I just tried calling him today, and we're just playing a little phone tag. So
yeah, that's pretty normal.
back. Yeah, we're excited to have Hemp Lucid potentially join our team and in any aspect. They have really high quality CD products, whether it's full oral. You can probably tell us
more importantly, they have a group of scientists that are working on the other cannabinoids, unlike any other team in the United States. They've created the first naturally occurring HHT cannabinoid and THC zero. These are modified versions of hemp oils that give you the same result as THC does in cannabis, so that we can get the medicine to all 50 states, even if it's illegal. And they're doing a wraparound on that. So not only that, they're working on microdose tinctures of psilocybin, microdose LSD, because these are going to be becoming legal in many states in the United States in the near future. And they want to have a product ready to get out to the masses, because we've seen in the last decade how many people with mental health issues have been helped with the ketamine push. And then everyone's like, well, why do we need this clinical ketamine stuff? No one can afford that. Why can't I just buy a $60 jar of microdose psilocybin that lasts a whole month? And so that's where we're going towards. Or even communities like ours growing and supplying. So I supply anyone for free with whatever they need here as far as medicine, because I've been accumulating it for years. So, cannabis, psilocybin, it's all available if you need it from a good neighbor. Because
on the wellness panel, one of our sponsors also that's coming is Spore out of Denver, and they are the Society for Psychedelic Reform and Outreach.
Education.
Education. Yeah, I was like not quite getting the acronym right, but Spore is coming in. They talk a lot about so they're not pushing a product, and they're also not pushing a agenda as far as like they're not getting signatures or anything for that to become, but they are an organization that has conversations and sort of helps lawmakers and people who do have products to move forward ethically, so that our medicines that you should just be able to get from your neighbor forevermore are not just completely capitalized, so that we can still have medicine that is like for the people and by the people, and interchange it amongst ourselves and keep it what it really is too is it's just similar to cannabis that is like widely grown and lived on all continents and was a part of many cultures. The mushroom is even more so. It grows on all the continents, and it was a part of many indigenous cultures around the world. And we want to make sure that that medicine can stay in the hands of just the people. And Spore is an organization that is advocating for that in Denver and in Colorado. So they're
cool. I mean, it sounds like this is going to be the best Crestone Energy Fair in a while.
Really good. Yeah.
And it's going to be in town. So if you've never come to Crestone, you will be in Crestone. I mean, you can't get more in Crestone than the Energy Fair.
That's true. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it is going to be great. But I really quickly also want to mention that our gardening panel has evolved, and it is going into the local food panel. Because we are feeling that it's very important to focus on and talk more about our local food sovereignty, so that we're not trucking and shipping everything that we need in. We are providing it for ourselves. And so giving the people who are here and providing food an opportunity to shine and maybe introduce themselves to some people who don't know about what they're doing, but also inspire people to provide more of their own and have more resources for people to provide more of their own food.
Yeah, and this is amazing. This is spurred by what's happening now. So it started with the pandemic, and now with the collapse of the United States government, because the people running the show right now are less than capable. Regular people are understanding that it's 41% more to feed their family. I mean, they're talking about 9% inflation, but that is not true. I mean, a can of olives used to be $1.29. It's $3.50 in Pagosa. It's insane. And that's just one example of when you average it all out, people are going to go hungry, or they're going to eat less nutrient dense food and get sicker. And people are like, hey, local food seems like a great idea. And we've got a local food coalition here going in Archuleta now for equity. And because half of our town is poor and getting priced out of their apartment, and they're starving, while the rest of the community throws out food. So people need to realize what's important. You know, if you're going to spend a little bit more on local food, you're definitely going to eat it and not throw it out. Right. I mean, these are kind of things like when you go to buy the discount crap in the grocery store, you don't care if you eat it. If it goes bad out, throw it out, costs $2. And it wasn't food anyway. I mean, so the stuff that's going on with the San Luis Valley Food Coalition, they came over here to one of our Food Coalition events. And I was like, you guys drove all the way here. So the networking is getting broader, and the local people are realizing that we need to grow more local food. And if you grow just a little bit more, you can bring your extras up here to our farmers market and they'll sell it for you. So you can make a little extra money and you can feed the people. And it's just brilliant. And we need more of this. Can you extrapolate on it?
So that panel is being sponsored by the Seed Exchange, and our dear coworker and friend, Jay Sanders. And the Seed Exchange is another, San Luis Valley organization that is promoting food sovereignty and food health by, every year they have an education-filled event that where you can go and exchange seeds, meet other farmers and growers, find resources that you need, nutrients, get tips from farmers who are doing it and things like that. So she's sponsoring it, and she's also curating that panel as well. So she is picking her faves.
And from your last podcast, Diamond, she is inspired, and the Seed Exchange is going to sponsor that farmers market you suggested. So
but as a swap.
As a swap.
Yeah. So
Sweet. I have the sign, I have the extra tent, and I'm going to bring all the produce. So anyone else, I'll have extra tables. We'll bring it into the farmers market, and we'll just get it all done under one tent.
Your way, right?
Bring your extra produce. It's harvest time.
Yep.
Cool.
And this,
So,
we're,
that's right.
and we're really looking at this as the capstone to the Seed Exchange, to the opposite of the season of the Seed Exchange, right?
Yeah,
so,
the opposite. Yes.
Yeah, you're planting your seeds. Now you're harvesting your seeds at the during the energy fair and showing the fruits of the labor that existed, that began at the Seed Exchange.
Yeah, and we're going to have millions of seeds that we're seed saving right now. We'll have we always bring tons of seeds. We'll have thousands of varieties. And we also always bring free medicine. So stop by the tent for that. Now, I'm interested. Lydia, do you have any more talking points? Because I'd like to get to Eric and talk about some of the new natural building stuff.
I do have a few names
Okay.
I'd like to mention.
Drop them.
We are going to have the River Arkansas is coming to play and headline on Saturday night. Mike Word and the 33rd Octave is coming from Denver.
Mike
And
Word.
we've got Max Ribner in the first language. He was an artist that toured with Nako for many years, and now he has his own project, and he's coming to join us. We've got
The suspense. is
other bands are also playing.
So this year
Music
also
all day. Music all day. We have a whole stage that's just for music.
Yeah.
We have music all day, Saturday and Sunday. And then in our wellness village, we're also going to be having the Sonic Apothecary with Peter May.
Now, what that means is if that you just want to come to the energy fair and you don't care about anything we're saying because it's too confusing, you can spin around all day and smoke your pot and jump around and have a great time and never even visit a booth or spend $1 because it's free. It's free.
It's free. There's going to be like 40 or 50 vendors from around the country with all kinds of amazing stuff that'll be selling things all weekend. It's going to be an amazing event and literally everything for anyone. And again, it's free. You're 100% right. And if you want to learn, there's plenty of opportunities to learn.
Yeah. It's a family-friendly event. There's kids areas. Everyone loves kids there. Everyone is so nice. There was one incident years ago, but it was hours after the event and it was some guy with a dog.
Oh,
and that was, yeah.
Anyways, but one thing
Lightning.
we have
It's our
Lightning,
kids village.
Kids
They're
Village,
coming. They're really incredible.
One thing we are doing though this year, as we have done, I think 3 years ago, the Crestone Artists Group is a very active group here in Crestone. There are a lot of retired, amazing artists, and they are collaborating with us to bring awareness to the trash that is, dumped at the dump. So what they're going to be doing is creating a large installation at the event site that incorporates the trash that's thrown away actually at our Crestone Free Box, and incorporating it into an entire exhibit to bring awareness on how much we throw away on a regular basis and how much could be reused for other uses.
I just did a podcast today on the Greenland garbage, or on the Pacific, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is an accumulation of plastics in the ocean. Now, the mainstream has been telling people for 4 or 5 years that it's our fault that this garbage patch exists. Well, they just went out and did the first trawl to clean it up, and they took out 100,000 kilograms of plastic. And when they dumped it, 97% of the debris was from the fishing industry, not a single piece of human waste from land. And when you go look into that, the pictures that they show telling everyone that it's their fault this garbage patch exists, they show pictures of the shoreline in third world countries littered with bottles and yogurt cups. Those bottles and yogurt cups are being beached. I'm a geologist. I know about longshore drift. They never make it out into the ocean. A few do, but 99.5% of all trash you throw into a river beaches on the river, the estuary, the bay, or the beach. And that is the pollution. That's where 90% of humans live. In these regions, we are literally living on piles of trash. And I did a calculation in 5 decades, 2070, the entire coastal region will be literally sitting on 7 meters of plastic bottles. Wow. And think about the BPA and all of the forever chemicals leaching out of this garbage on our shoreline. This is where all the fish mate. This is where all our food production happens. The planet we live on, and the multinational corporations and the corrupt governments, they're blaming us because we buy cases of bottled water. Stop making cases of bottled water. We never had these a few decades ago. We can get clean water anywhere. We're a first world country. Even third world countries have clean water these days. And we can go back to glass bottles and recycling things we had. And people are just so damn lazy. It's pathetic. I ended the video showing the real problem, and it's a prefecture in India where the local government is dumping trash directly into the river. And they back the trucks up, they wave them in, and they dump the residential trash in the river. Only when it floods, because it washes away from them. But it washes down to some other town, and then the beach. And then you get these pictures in India of the beaches that are littered with, it's just disgusting. And that's the beauty of Crestone. You come out there and we don't have a beach. We do have trash issues, right? Like the trash issues began with the white man. And I'm going to say it right here. We do the most disgusting things. We came over here. We kicked out the natives. We took over the hot springs here in Pagosa. And then we said, you all have to go to this reservation here. And then we put the landfill here in Archuleta County on the edge of the river where the river flows into the reservation. So our trash is literally on the line between the Ute Reservation and Archuleta County. And this isn't unique. If you spend enough time and you don't have to go to your shit job that you don't have any time to enjoy your life, which is the majority of the population, you spend a little time researching this, you're going to find that all of these dump sites are on the edge of marginal communities where the poorest people that they don't care about and they could care less, and that's where they put them. And it's disgusting. And this is why our society is about to collapse, because the people running it are scumbags.
Nihi Kabat, they're down with the Navajo reservation, Kim and Kimberly Smith and Makai Lewis. If you go to our YouTube, they've got one of the presentations from last year, and they really explain that. They're Dene. They really go through all of it, from the uranium poisoning to the camps that get set up and come in, and then with their food systems and the water. And they're doing amazing projects from coming last year and connecting. They're doing a straw bale build down in St. Michael's now, and then they're going to do a Hogan ceremonial build. So they're trying to incorporate their indigenous ways of building, but with some of these newer ways, whether it's the plasters and the straw bales. So, we're really looking at resource redistribution as well as like, how are we supporting all of the communities around us, even regionally, for their resources.
Diamond,
We
you're
lost
muted.
you.
You're muted. Can't hear a damn thing.
We can't hear you. Everybody go like this.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you think that this is just a bunch of dejunked topics we're talking about, it's all related. Like the natural plasters that Lydia was just talking about, they replace all the toxic, cheap plasters that we're using now. And natural building that Eric is bringing in new people to talk about. They not only replace materials that cost too much money because wood is overpriced, but they reorient houses. They use, solar gain. We use extra R value. We use position. We use airflow to change the dynamics. The house that I built that's right in front of me here on the other side of this R60 wall with R90 ceilings, you could heat with a match. A single fart will heat the house. And then if that doesn't work, there is a 3,000 square foot dual purpose greenhouse connected to the front that you can pump in energy from. It's not an Earthship design. It is completely different from that because it works. Every single part works because it's independent. It's not a big picture thing that, oh, you're going to do all this great stuff in your Earthship. The Earthship's a great design. It needs upgrades, and they've been upgrading it for decades. But my design is stick frame. It doesn't require pounding things. And it uses 50% recycled products in my house. So you don't have to go 100% crazy and make your house out of trash and poop and bottles. You can go somewhere in the middle. You can think about, go ahead, Eric.
I'm like chomping at the bit to explain some things for you here, because I have two perfect segues into the guest speakers that I'm bringing to the Energy Fair this year that have to do with exactly what you're saying. First of all, you're right. You don't have to poop in a bucket to go off grid. There's an entire spectrum of freedom that exists with you in these alternative lifestyle choices. Everything from tiny living, where with as little resources as possible, trying to meet the goal of that sovereignty of just being able to take care of your own human needs.
But pooping in a bucket is very satisfying.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Most people aren't even educated about it. Like most people don't know about. There's a lot of people, there's a spectrum of education that's necessary. Like I have two people who have both been through all of it, built their own houses, built houses, started companies, ran education programs, two people who are super integral with the Earthship biotexture movement. Mike Reynolds would have never been famous if it weren't for Kirsten Jacobson and the work that she did at that company. And so there's a lot of respect that I have for her, and her new education platform she's putting out has basically everything from the beginning intro level information that people need to just even be, given. That information needs to be given out with a low price point so that people who are like, oh, maybe, I do want to go and build a straw bale, or I want to make an Earthship or something. As soon as they get into the what is it called? The off-grid jumpstart course that she created, they can answer questionnaires and figure out, oh, well, actually with my budget or with my lifestyle or with my this or with these needs, this doesn't make sense for me. For a lot of people, Earthships does not make sense. And for a lot of people, all these other options are available.
Yeah, now I used to watch her early on, like 5-6 years ago, and I didn't like the channel because she was getting famous on people like us doing novel things and was not presenting it as the way we should be going. It was like, here's a novel thing. Here's a novel. So now she's moved over to education because I haven't really watched much.
This is not Kirsten Liegman on YouTube or whatever that channel.
Oh, with the million views with the Earthships and everything. Okay.
No, this is a different person. This is different.
Okay, good. That's why we have a disconnect.
Yeah,
Tell me more about the cool one.
Yeah, she travels around and documents all these different types of alternative situations, lifestyles that people have chosen, interviews, and does home tours and things like that. I'm talking about a Kirsten who went out into the Mesa of Taos and dug a hole in the ground and built her house around her, starting with a small hut made of the rammed earth tires and a ferrocement cap over that. And then over the period of like 8 years, she built an incredible 2,400 square foot Airbnb magazine award-winning house that continues to be inspirational for everyone who visits it. And she's actually going right now for the Airbnb grant to do even more educational program with that house, so that every person who comes from Airbnb is going to have the opportunity to go through an interactive walkthrough that explains the Earthship systems. And the reason I'm partnering with them is, first of all, you have her husband, Ron Chirillo, who is an excellent Earthship builder, has been doing so for 14 years now with Mike, is now working on his own. We just did a tiny Earthship build together, and I have the whole thing on YouTube. So together, the trifecta, the three of us, people don't even realize what we're doing behind the scenes, but we've been working on big things for a long time. And for me to be able to bring them here and provide the Earthships Explained chat that we're going to do, which is going to be like a live Q&A with a presentation where they're going to be able to talk to some of the most, I mean, you don't get closer to Earthship Biotecture and the movement than the people who literally were building the houses and building the educational company that, took Earthship Biotecture to the next level. And they are now unleashing themselves and unshackling themselves from rammed earth tires and all the ideas that Mike Reynolds had for so many years. And they are going into the big open horizon and exploring all of the different alternative things, because not only are we, working together on the energy fair, but the network is massive. All of the people that we've met, all the people that we know, the collective is so much greater than any individual sum. So, this year we're going to be having a really interesting, I mean, Ron is one of the most inspirational people to listen to, period, in my life ever. Like, going to the academy, we would just sit and listen to Ron talk at his lectures and just sit in amazement as we were being imbued with like the inspiration we needed to take on whatever projects we had in our minds. And this guy, everything you're saying about all the landfills and the oceans and the, Ron is like, he could tear it down about these subjects. He would not have let you continue to even speak for as long as you did when you were talking about waste, because he is the kind of person who is trying to use tire bales just so that he could consume even more garbage from the landfill when he builds his houses. Ron is like insane about this stuff. He was weaponized, because he was part of a generation that was creating the problem. When he grew up, he was creating the problem. And then he had a midlife crisis and realized, oh shit, I'm creating this problem. And so he weaponized himself. So Ron is a product of an amazing mentality that is so nonstop at what he wants to achieve in this world. And nothing stops this man. It doesn't matter what you're talking about, the inflation. It doesn't matter what you're talking about with the unavailability of materials or the pollution, the plastics, the fuel crisis. He was not affected by any of that. They were living in their Earthship in the mountains and had no problem when this whole pandemic thing happened and all these supply chain issues are happening, because at the end of the day, when you are completely sovereign living off grid, you just go home and you're home, and that's that. And the rest of the world is going about and doing its thing. And you have a massive buffer between you and that impending wave when you have that amount of freedom versus someone living in an apartment that's, directly connected.
And that's what Crestone is about. The one thing you don't see at Crestone is a lot of people staring into the square. There's more conversation like it used to be 30 years ago than any other place. It's all talking. It's so exhausting. At the end of the day, you've talked to hundreds of people and you're like, I'm exhausted. And you haven't done anything but talk to people. I mean, literally, you got to sleep for 12 hours. And that is the way, that's what we lost. Go ahead. What do you say?
I said we need more doers. We are recruiting volunteers, by the way.
Yes,
for the event.
Yeah, and I'm sure.
We have a very, ambitious list of people we want to bring to this event, and we really need help in sponsorship. I'm providing as much money as I can for my company, but we need more help in that. It's a labor of love for a lot of us. And
a lot of the people that are specialists in their field won't just come out for free. I had to pay about $40,000 to get some of the top names out to the first Leak Con. Now, luckily, we made $100,000, so I didn't lose any money.
$100,000. Tell us how to make $100,000.
No, we didn't make. Listen, we didn't make $100,000. We made $100,000 on ticket sales. 40,000 went to the speakers. 68,000 went to the Hilton. So it was an $8,000 we had to figure out, and through donations, or whatever, we broke even. But the point is, if you want to get talent out there, you got to pay for them to come. But the one thing I wanted to go back to was Eric. And Eric, you're talking about some of the stuff that I kind of just detached from, because I didn't want to have anything to do with Earthship Biotecture when Reynolds patented the first design and then he came out with the second design about 3 years later. I was like, this guy has basically capped the limit on knowledge with biotecture, which I thought was total bullshit, because in a few years, just living on my property, I learned hundreds of other better techniques than I could have ever learned from that school of thought that I learned 20 years prior, from the beginning of Earthship Biotecture and Earthship construction. It's like they were hiding the technology from the public, and this should all be proprietary. Like Blackwater systems and multiple systems. Everyone should be able to know where to buy EPDM fabric or something that's earth friendly that you can bury. And I like the idea of this guy, that whoever you're talking about with the bales of tires, like if you want to use bales of tires in your construction, go for it, because when you bury a tire, it's much safer than sitting out in the sun. In the sun, it breaks down and causes toxins to leach into the ground. Buried under earth, it is completely stable. So it's a way to stabilize some of the toxic things on earth and then build a home with. I mean, it's like things that who would think, let me build my home with toxic tires. Well, why would you do that? Well, because if you bury them, they're not toxic. And people were like, I don't believe you. Well, I'll show you the paper that came out 8 years ago. I mean, so people just go ahead. You have add to it.
How many tires have you pounded, Simon?
Probably about 80.
Yeah. So the thousands of tires that I've pounded, I'm done pounding tires. Yeah. And if you want to talk about how we want to move away from these archaic ways of building houses that are inefficient, ineffective, and are a time drain, then I am entertaining everything and the stars beyond with the Off-Grid Guru channel, but I still give credence to my past because the information that Earthship provided is what accelerated me into being more aware.
No, and those Earthships, if you can get a team of 50 people to pound tires, it goes quick. But it's just most people don't have the organizing skills. Everyone here knows it's impossible to organize. At March Against Monsanto, I had 1,100 people sign up for the first organizational meeting and 13 showed up. 1,100 signed up, 13 were there. I mean, so that's pretty normal.
At workshop, the process of hosting an education build or having your house created is something that is an intangible that they've been doing for the last 40 years of experimenting with Earthship biotecture that Kirsten is capitalizing on. She's working with someone to create a class that's going to actually teach people how to host. It's going to include everything from how to take on volunteers, how to sign up for woofing, how to do staging for a build, how to do the waste management for a build in all regards. You know, they're talking about all the pitfalls and all the mistakes that they made and the money that they lost and the, you know, everything that all these people for years have been learning because they were inspired to go and move off grid. And some of them succeeded to later, you know,
the most important thing is how to get rid of useless people. Because that's the ones that show up and then they don't do anything. And you're like, look, you got to go. You can't just watch this. We're working together. You know, if you can't just pick up these pebbles or whatever this simple task is. So some people just don't want to work. But I see you, Eric, as being a guy that's organizing the doers, just like Lisa said, the ones that are adding to the whole protocol. So people who are learning through the process. This is science. If you're learning through the process, you should be able to share it with the community. And if someone's aggregating that, think about the potential in just a decade or 2 decades as we continue these like the Crestone Energy Fair or these biotecture events or natural building events, or if Goldie and Lydia can finally pull off the straw bale thing. That was a joke.
Learning about the
where do we go from here? The sky's the limit.
What didn't happen was the guy got sick, so
I am thinking I'll take this class of Kirsten's, though it sounds important.
I know.
So.
I just want to talk about it one more time before we're done, because what I'm saying, I don't know if you fully grasp me, is that it's the process that's important. It doesn't matter what house you're building. Kirsten, the company they're making, which is Eco Build Lab, is literally looking at the entire spectrum of when someone gets the idea, this is a possibility for me. I could be free of wage slavery and have my own homestead or whatever. And I don't know yet what that even looks like, all the way to the very end, you know, and every step in between. They want to teach people who are right in the middle of being like, oh, I want to have, you know, volunteers come and create this permaculture garden and I need it to be sustainable and have it, you know, blah, blah, all the way to, you know, the end of the spectrum when you're, you know, finalizing your inspections and, you know, getting your C of O for your structure. So
now, it all sounds great, Eric, but let me tell you about a scenario that happened with us because we have internet traction. I believe it was the History Channel or A&E reached out to Leah and I and said, we want to do a documentary on the Oppenheimer Ranch project. And I said, great. So I spent like 8 days of 6 hours going over this team, explaining all the things we're doing. I'm going to do this geothermal greenhouse build. I'm going to do earth tubes in the next 3 months. I'm going to do this and do that. And so we had all these wonderful things we're going to do. And then we were finalizing everything. They sent over the documents. Then they called back and they said, well, you guys need to be fully updated on your vaccinations, double boosted, and we're going to have doctors on set and you have to be tested every 3 hours. And I was like, wait a minute, your show is called Preppers or so it was called like Preppers in America or something like that. And I was like, and you're telling us we have to get vaccinated? I said, no one's coming on your show. This was a week after everything was set up. And they were flabbergasted. They had no idea where I was coming from. They were like, oh, well, this is just for your safety. I'm like, you are complete idiots. No, it isn't. It's for your insurance company. It has nothing to do with me. So if this Kirsten is doing, go ahead. What are you saying?
Like,
what'd you say?
It just totally fell apart because of that?
Yeah, I hung up. Yeah, it was this is hundreds of hours, and they spent $10,000 organizing this whole thing. I had executive producers, everyone, until they dropped that bomb, and they must have had a meeting and said, "We'll drop the bomb at the end," because once they know they're going to make money and all the people watching, they'll agree to this stuff. I was like, you are so dumb.
Wow.
Goodbye.
Yeah, good for you.
Learn from your mistake. I'll ask about vaccinations first before I sign a TV contract.
Yeah, so I wanted to put that out there because this Kirsten girl, once they get big enough and HBO pays in and they get money, then things will change. And that's the problem with our system.
Don't sell out.
Don't sell out.
Don't sell
Guys,
out.
and if you don't want to sell out, you just come to the Crestone Energy Fair and you learn how to sell up. And this doesn't involve money. It involves humanity. This is where we learn how to network and organize and grow community. I didn't know a single person in Crestone. I saw they were doing something awesome and I went over there. And the result is a few years later, I have an awesome network of friends doing the same stuff that I want to do. And we all have different opinions, but generally when we get together and we talk about it, we all have the same opinions that the earth is screwed up. The powers that be made it that way on purpose. And we need to change the paradigm and start doing something different. So people like the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, the Crestone Energy Fair, Eric, and all of you guys that are volunteering, we're doing this for the love of humans. And I think about it, I'm like, I'm not doing this for anything else except my benefit because I'm a prick and I want the best, healthiest environment for my family. And I want to do it with spending the least money on the corrupt systems. And so we're doing it. We are doing it. And that's what people need to do. Eric said it's the process, and this is the process. So I want to give you all a chance to get a final word in here. Why should people come to the Crestone Energy Fair, my birthday weekend, except to wish me a happy birthday?
Whoa, it's your birthday weekend? It's my birthday weekend.
August 28th.
29th.
All right, sweet. You're a Leo and I'm a Virgo, or how does that work?
I'm a Virgo.
No?
baby. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's
I have
free.
that same shirt, Eric, so we definitely need to meet.
It's free education. Like, where else do you get free education, amazing food, amazing people who look you in the eye when they're talking to you? This is such an amazing place to be. I moved here from New Orleans years ago, and I would not want to be anywhere else. So we invite you to come, feel our community, see what we're doing, and really experience what it is to be off-grid and sustainable.
Yeah, beautiful. Lisa?
Ooh. Yeah, it's too important not to start living this way and taking one small step. So I think the open-heartedness of our crew, the people in these last few years that have come to the table with their skill sets and their knowledge and drive has just been remarkable and amazing. So really coming for the people and that genuine interest in supporting all communities and people.
Why wouldn't we? All right, Lydia. I'm going to give Eric the final word because he's my new favorite Crestonian.
Yeah.
You guys really hit it off.
We're Virgos. 29th, 28th. Let's go. Birthday weekend.
I think that I think everybody should come to the Crestone Energy Fair because you are not going to find a group of more authentic people, I think, on the planet. And you have the opportunity to expand your knowledge. And if you're even a little bit curious about moving off grid and seeing what that might be like and building a house, this is a great place to get a ton of information for free about how to do that and talk to a lot of experienced people about how they're living their lives. And if you're the kind of person that wants to be an active creator of your life, I think this is going to have a lot of resources for you. And
Awesome. Yeah, do it. Eric, final word.
I forgot to mention the home tours.
Home tours.
The home tours is an awesome thing, and you can only get them here in Crestone. So even though there's going to be awesome coverage where we're going to release videos from the fair, for everyone to see some of the natural building demos and things like that, the home tours you can only experience in person yourself. You have to sign up beforehand. There's limited spots, and they're on a schedule. But these are some of the most mind-blowing homes in the world, and you need to see them.
Yeah, and I can confirm, like Leah and I come to Crestone and we get Airbnbs, and that's a home tour in itself because a lot of them are really kooky. And then when you're there in town, you just walk around, and then you're doing your own home tour without going in. Some of the craziest structures I've ever seen, and they're occupied. This is not a joke. It's not a fantasy. It's not a fairy tale. These fairy tale homes that are built by people using natural building techniques are being occupied, they're being lived in, and they're being loved. And they are functional, they're organic. And when you're inside, they make you feel like no other house you could ever feel in. There's not like square corners and all this dumb stuff. It is a different way of life. And if you're interested in it, we implore you to come to the Crestone Energy Fair. And some of the greatest moments of my life have been there when I meet the little old lady and I give her like an eighth of cannabis and she has no money. And it's like the greatest thing that ever happened in the world. And she didn't even know she was coming to the fair that day. I mean, these are the miracles that happen at the Crestone Energy Fair. And I thank you all guys for joining us. It's been a pleasure. And we're going to do one more of these, right?
Yep.
Yeah, one more.
Right before.
Do we know when it's happening?
Not yet. We'll figure it out. Probably right before,
Yes.
the week before, right?
We had it scheduled.
Do we? Okay.
I think it was.
Yeah, so
August.
start planning for the Crestone Energy Fair. Gas prices are high, right? And this is one place you can almost take a dirt nap for free anywhere. Police aren't going to arrest you. And then there's like food. People are giving out food. There's cheap food. Do we do the pancake breakfast at this?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Sunday
Yeah, so
morning.
get there early and help volunteer. And guess what? You eat for free. So if you're looking for an event where you can participate and be part of the team and you don't have a lot of money, all you have to do is get there. I promise you, I will put you up. I will provide for you. And so are all the people that are looking at you right now on the screen. We will do whatever it is in our power to get you a place to stay and be comfortable and have a great time. All you got to do is come and help out, period.
Yep. That's right. Give us a hand. We'll help you out for sure. Thanks, Simon.
Go to our
Yeah,
website for all the information.
CrestoneEnergyFair.org.
You can see all the different ways you can join us.
Yeah, become a sponsor, become a volunteer, become an awesome human, and come to the Crestone Energy Fair. Be safe. We love you.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks,
Do
Simon.
it, Lisa. No.
No. Oh, is that my turn?